Welcome to the Unzipped Mind podcast. My name is Nick Smith. I'm here with Greg Minikis and Dylan Jessen.
Hey
Hello.
guys.
Hey, welcome
Good to be
guys.
back. We have a before we get into today's episode, which is going to be about self-care. We're going to talk about caring for ourselves. We have a super awesome, cool, dope announcement to let everybody know about something. Do you want to tell everybody, Nick?
Yeah, so this is our last episode of season 1.
Hey.
Hey.
Love it.
Yeah, 20 episodes. It's our 20th episode released. Probably our 50th that we've recorded.
Yes.
But yeah.
Lots recorded.
We had some mistakes.
Yeah, a few.
But yeah, we're going to take a 30-day. We're going to take a month off. We're still going to be recording. We are still going to be producing content. But this is a great topic segue as well because we need that month to kind of catch up a little bit on content and have everything kind of ready for you. And we got some big things coming out for season 2. Mm-hmm. We have some surprise guests and some returning guests.
Yes.
That we'll have on board. But yeah, so we will come back on September 25th.
25th.
Yep.
The day we started, but not
6 months
6
before.
months ago.
Yeah.
And it's incredible that we're already 6 months and 20 episodes and season 1.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Nearly
it's been fast.
5,000 downloads, I think we have. So that's incredible.
And we thank every single one of you who listens and subscribes and likes our stuff and helps build our platform and helps support us and spread the words. And we really, really appreciate it. And thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts.
Yeah, super grateful for everybody's support, and I think we need this month, partially to catch it, just have like a sort of backlog of content and everything, but also just it's good to rest. Rest is important. That really does segue pretty nicely into our topic today, which is self-care. I used to see a therapist. I've seen several therapists over the years, but one of my previous therapists, I was talking with her, and she was talking with me about self-care, and I asked a question. I was like, is exercise self-care? And she said, let me take a moment to educate you, Greg. And she said, self-care is anything that nourishes you. So that can be rest, that can be food, that can be exercise. Sometimes going and sitting in a coffee shop and writing is my self-care, because it's stimulating, it's energizing. It's not something that I need to build up energy for in order to expend energy on. It's not taxing. It's not difficult. This is something I guess exercise can be difficult, but it's something that's going to charge me up and nourish me. So in particular, part of the reason that we need to take this month is because I think one thing that we all could catch up a little bit more on is rest, and not just kind of go all the time every day.
Probably. I'm still trying to learn that a little bit. But yeah, that is, and especially since we went weekly, it has been very much so of us recording, getting out, editing, and we are working on a lot of other projects that coming out here soon. We're recording short films. We're just kind of branching out a lot, so fitting that all in with our day jobs. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we are very, very much go, and I think this month off will be able to really kind of let our creative minds kind of move around a little bit more.
This is a creative endeavor. We want to take a relaxed approach to it and not just be, constantly thinking about, we got to finish this real quick and do this editing and crank this content out. It's creative. The creative process should be fun and relaxed.
Yeah, it's been a wild couple months. It's been kind of nonstop. So I've been trying to sneak in time for myself and be able to get out in the woods and take care of myself, but it's really difficult in between, you guys were saying, in between everything we're doing here at the podcast and then our daytime jobs as well, or nighttime jobs as well. And it has been quite a wild ride and very thankful, but it'd be really nice just to kind of sit down and let it sink in and digest everything that's been happening this past month and what we've covered and how far we've come. And it's been wild. It's been very humbling and grateful, and but need to breathe for a second.
Yeah. And I do have a question, I guess, to your statement.
Sure.
About it's anything that's nourishing. Something that came to mind, because what about habits that tend to be more unhealthy but still can be nourishing? I think about off and on I've had little gambling spurts. I like to play some slots, but that can very well dip more negatively, and that can very well be a negative addiction, really.
Yep.
But I will tell you, like, even if I go play some slots, you know, just a local spot or whatever, and say I lose $100 or a couple $100, whatever, I don't feel it. It did nourish me in the sense that, like, I didn't think about anything else. I didn't think about work. Like, I just was like just playing the game and relaxing to me. And so that's just an interesting question on that, is like, you know, even some habits that could tend to be negative, or it could be eating habits, you know, eating a bunch of sugar, eating a bunch of crap, but maybe that's not self-care.
Maybe not. I mean, some indulgence, you know, separate practitioner was a chiropractic student. I went and got some work done, and I was talking about sort of, you know, sometimes I like stay up too late and I eat a bunch of snacks and play too many video games. And he said, it's good to have a little bit of chaos in the system. And I like that. Perfect rigidity, perfect routine may work for some people, but I think for a lot of people, it's good to have those nights where you indulge a little bit. Yeah. So I think, that release of going to wherever, like a fun place.
I think that's important.
I think it is important.
You gotta spice it up a little bit. Like, I'll tell you, when I go to the movies, because I really like going to the movie theater, every time popcorn is slushy. I have to get my icy. If I don't get an icy and a popcorn with extra butter, it's not going to be a good movie.
That greasy, salty, and then just that cold, sweet.
I know it's not good for me.
Even it
freaking delicious.
Even
every time.
It's a good example.
Even a good example. Little Freddie. You know, listeners, I don't know if you know, but got a new puppy a month ago or so. He's 3 months old now.
So cute.
Yep, Shepsky. Look it up. You don't know what it is. Cute little pups. But anyways, the first time took him to school after hours, a little like park or whatever, and let him run free. And, you know, having those little, and, you know, Haley was like, oh, you know, let's do lawn lead training. Let's do some of that training. No, let's just it's his first time in a big open field. Let him run. You know what I mean? Like, let him, you need those little kind of releases.
How happy was he?
Oh my God. He loved it. Yep. He loved it. And then Jasmine wasn't really, my other dog wasn't really running much. So I just ran in laps. And so both of them just chased me running around. And he just,
I love it.
Smelling the flowers.
Nick, I love that you said that, because we're talking about self-care. One of my self-cares is my dog.
Yeah.
This morning after working, right? Obviously first thing I do, I'm going home. Homie needs to go out. I happen to live by personally like one of my favorite parks in Portland. Oh yeah. It has like in by parks I mean like one of my favorite dog parks, right? It's dope, right? And it's just wonderful. And you can see like Hood is like right down, it's like all downhill, it's beautiful, it's ungated, it's just wonderful. And Calvin, my dog, he just runs around. Usually I have his ball and a chuck it stick, and I just haul it, and he will chase that thing endlessly. But what I love about it just makes me stop and not worry or stress about anything, because the literal pureness of his enjoyment and happiness in the moment he is chasing and going after his ball and then bringing it back to me, there's nothing better it's literally pure happiness. That is it. And you're like, dude, life is cool.
You're like basking in that.
Yeah, dude. It's like,
what a win-win for you both.
Yeah. I'm like, yep, this is great. I'm glad you're happy. I'm happy. We're doing our thing.
The biggest point on this topic for me is lack of self-care, right? Because I can name a few things. And look, one of the main things I noticed, gambling, not a very healthy self-care method, but and I do have some other ones that, you know, I try and do more of, but I have more of a lack of it. And especially I see that a lot in our field or in healthcare in general. You know, you always hear like doctors or nurses are the worst patients. And I think just in general, that's something I really experience in our field is as healthcare, we're always giving and we're always helping others. And it's difficult for us to both seek help ourselves when we need it or provide a self-care. And I don't know where that connection is or where that comes from. You know what I mean?
We definitely hear it a lot from our coworkers. They'll come and be like, oh, I only slept 4 hours. And like, I've had 3 cups of coffee already, at 7 a.m. And I just stayed up late, like had, a bunch of beers and just like I'm hungover, but like here I am. And like, we do hear a lot of that from our coworkers. Back when I was full-time, I did notice a tension between, I would just really be as disciplined as I could on my work days, and get up and do my yoga and everything, and come in and try to be as present as possible for my patients, just giving as much as I could of myself to be there for my patients. And then on my days off, man, I would just have no discipline and would just kind of like the sort of all the tension that I was building up throughout the work week I would release it just pure lazy indulgence, and I just wouldn't exercise, and I wouldn't go outside, and I wouldn't socialize, and just video games, just sort of like drowning myself in distraction to like dissociate myself from my body, because what my body was feeling was all this stress and tension. And rather than release it in like, I don't know, a healthy variety of ways that includes like body movement and like laughing with friends and being outside and bathing in the sunlight and the wind and stuff, I would just release it in this like kind of slow drip of just like sitting, chin to chest, gaming, snacking. And so like I would kind of release that tension, but in doing so I would accumulate all these other differences of like, now I've had 3 days of that, now I'm back to work, back to my work week, and I just have this like all this neck tension, and like my I have no energy because I just haven't been moving and I haven't seen any sunlight. So like, yeah, it was my way of like coping with the stress of it, I think, especially considering the stressful environment that I was working in.
And I wonder if part of the culture plays on that, because I don't know if you've experienced like really hard days or really stressful days, and then you almost feel guilty, or you are made to feel guilty for taking a break. You know what I mean? Or it's almost the expectation, say your work is running over, to stay late to take care of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of like that culture and expectation. And it's not.
I think that's an expectation we put on ourselves.
And same,
Yep. And it's because of like
same as overtime.
This feeling of like of care. Like we do care, but sometimes we care too much, because we're not caring about ourselves, because we're putting,
it becomes a duty.
Yeah, exactly. And we're putting that energy that we should be putting toward ourselves to like helping others, which isn't necessarily bad, but like we're just doing a really poor job at checking our cups and checking our well,
because you can't pour from an empty
cup, dude. And that's when you start making like poor decisions and you start getting irrational. Like you're at the grocery store, here's something when I know I need to take some time for myself, and I know that I need to go take some walks, or that I need to just go take some breaths. And as our listeners probably have figured out by this point, because we've stated this time and time again, I go to the woods, right? Any woods.
It's a big part of your self-care.
Yeah. I get away from people, right? Like I usually will hop on my bike and like ride for no reason in a large loop in some direction to a area where there is woods and or a view. And it's like, I know when that moment is when I'm like typically in a grocery store. And I don't know if you guys ever been behind that person who decides to not just walk in the middle of the aisle, walk very slowly, but then also not know where they're going. So they kind of go left, and then they kind of go right, and then they kind of go left, and they go left and right far enough that you can't just walk by them without touching them. So you're not trying to do that because it's rude, right? You're just trying to be like, oh God, fuck. And then and you get blocked. And they're just like a really good defensive person, right? Like you'd be like, yo, I could not get to the basket hoop if you like this.
Maybe wish we had the little bike bells, but just like on our belt.
Ching, ching. On your left.
Should be car horns on every grocery cart.
Yeah. So, but when that moment happens, and when I am getting pissed, like angry, and I can feel it inside myself, and it's like little Gertrude, who's like 70 years old, who's just in front of me, and I'm like, yo, please. Get out of my way. That's when I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
That's good insight though, that you feel that.
Oh yeah, when little things start getting at me, and I don't know if you guys have this problem. I do. I know this. Inanimate objects that are designed to do something,
like the remote.
And then they don't do the thing they're designed to do. When I start losing my temper on that and like kind of just getting really frustrated, irrationally frustrated. That's when I'm like, my cup is like really low. It's like really, it's like, Yeah.
One spot where I think we might differ, at least when you've talked about this a few times, is like when you notice that, you take action usually.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of you go outside and you go hiking, you go on a trip, you go do something to kind of do that self-care. I think that's the biggest roadblock. And I'm glad I'm mentioning this because maybe someone else might resonate with this. My stubbornness comes into play. Like I know, like I've mentioned a couple times, writing is a good decompression for me, but I refuse to do it on a lot of levels, and I don't know why that is. Same as like eating habits. I know my eating habits are horrible, but I don't see a lot of negative effects. I produce every day, you know what I mean? So it's hard to make those changes. So my stubbornness or my pride, whatever you want to call it, comes into effect where it's hard to break that down when I know certain self-care would be better for me.
I feel like I relate to that the most strongly with my sleep because my sleep is terrible a lot of the time. Like last night I was waking up every hour. So, and I know that if I would just, the first time I woke up, if I could just get up and do like 10 or 15 minutes of yoga, every time I've done that, which is not a lot, I go right back to sleep and stay asleep way better. And so I lay there and it's that stubbornness, man. I lay there, I'm just like, I don't want to do this because I'm tired. And so I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to lay here. And I'll go back to sleep eventually. Like, it's fine. I'm chilling. I'm just going to, I'll just do a little stretching. And it just, like, last night in particular, it just didn't work. And I don't know why my sleep was bad. I probably, like, didn't get enough sunlight or didn't get enough exercise during the day, or I, like, drank too much caffeine too late in the day or something. I'm not sure exactly what it was. That coffee that Trish made yesterday was really strong for training.
She makes it very
She just makes it super strong because that's what she thinks we need. But so I don't know if it was that, but like, yeah, so it was that. I feel that it's that stubbornness. I'm just like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I don't feel like doing it. I'm just gonna lay here, and then I just suffer. I suffer the consequences. So I don't know. That's one area. I do like that your story about the grocery cart, because I like that you feel that insight, and like, you know, it's worth mentioning, like, you probably feel it in your body, don't you? It's like a hot ball.
No, yeah, I don't
of anger.
and I don't like feeling angry. It's not a feeling that's I'm a fan of.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not an angry person. I don't like, that's an emotion I'm not well accustomed to. And I know anger can be positive and you can use anger in a positive way.
But you don't.
But I don't use that way, right? And I know I don't like how I feel with it. And so that's one thing. Yeah, I'm like, no, this isn't cool. And I don't know. So the best way I can relate it to is if, like, I don't do that, if I don't go and bike, or if I don't go and hike or do something, I feel as if I'm going to implode. Right?
Explode.
It will like implode. Like I feel like I will, and it's a person I don't like being.
Sure.
And I just get like really stressed out, and then I take it out on people externally, and like that's not fair to anybody, and it's just because like I'm overstressed and I'm overworked, and that's the whole thing that, like, to me, like, self-care is also really important, because the adverse side of that, like what you were talking, Nick, is like, you have to do the self to care, right? You also do the choices to not do the self-care, right? Like, so, and that's where it's like really unfair, is like my frustrations and my stress comes out on people who, they're not the ones who told me to pick up extra shifts. They're not the ones who told me to not do so-and-so, or to not, you know, go to sleep on at a regular time, or to, instead of eating a frozen meal, like actually cook something, or instead of calling out, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's like not fair, because those are your choices to make. So like, that's the thing with like self-care, is like, you also have to make the choices to take care of yourself, and like make sure, and like the boundaries thing too. That's the thing I struggle with my self-care, is actually having appropriate boundaries for myself, where like I let a lot of things encroach on my boundaries, where like I'd rather be there for people and for friends, and like be there like for work too,
for the podcast.
And like put my energy outward when it's needed. And I have a really, really hard time at saying no to people and being like, I'm doing me right now.
Yeah.
Like I've realized that about myself.
I think that's where part of it plays into us being there for each other, and recognizing it in each other too. And this just popped in my head, and I got to bring up this example. Is at work, we got a nurse named Will, right? He like started in our position and became a nurse, and which is always the best nurses in my opinion. But
because they know what it's like kind of on the ground floor.
Yeah, for sure. But I'll never forget this. You know, this was a time when I was working a lot, when he had just, you know, kind of gotten nursing, and I had been teaching new hires, and I came over to the hospital, like, see if they need help, and like he knew I was working a bunch of days in a row, and he could just kind of, he's like, we're good. No, we're good. Go home. Take up. Go. Yeah. No, we're good. We got it. And then like stuff was kind of popping off on the unit still, and he's like, no, you're good. We got it. And I'll never forget that. And there's been a couple other times where he's, you know, go take a break. No, go take your break.
And
no matter, we'll handle it.
He's so calm. I've never seen him
and I just soak that up, and I'll never forget that. You know what I mean? Because nobody else really would like notice it. Even when I was working crazy hours and I was super stressed, nobody would say anything, you know? But he would see it, and he would recognize it, and he would give me that time and just taking that breath, you know?
I like that. Oh, sorry.
We just got to notice that in each other, you know? And because of that experience, it made me more observant of the people around me.
Just that one interaction, you think? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it played a big part of it, I think. You know, that's when I started kind of changing, just kind of making sure that I was really looking out for the people that were, you know, not as apparent, that they might be a little overworked or overstressed or have something going on in their life, that because they're not outwardly talking about it, if you just kind of ask, hey, how you doing? You know?
But
I love that.
Did it make you also look more at yourself?
It did.
That's my question.
Yeah, it did.
Because I want to make sure you're like...
Yeah, it's harder to say I made the changes initially, but you can't make changes unless you're, you know, observant and aware of what you need to change, you know?
Yeah, so I just wanted to check in on that one, because you went to everybody else.
Avoidance.
You're talking about everybody else.
I'm real good at that.
There you go. I know you are.
I love his attitude, just the way you're sort of, because I know Will, and I think he's an amazing nurse, and I love sort of the way that he brought that to you. It wasn't this super overbearing, like we were talking about
probably the
earlier.
Only way it would have worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Well,
but
no,
I know what
I
you were
agree
getting
with you.
at. And if you would have been embarrassed, like, no, go, I wouldn't have went.
Go. You got to go. Or, Nick, I've noticed that you seem really stressed.
That's
like,
true.
That just, it feels invasive. Like, if it's this overbearingness, I'm like, no, screw you. Like, I don't want, like...
Then my stubbornness and pride comes in.
Yeah, and that's kind of natural. We're adults. People don't like being told what to do. Don't tell me what to do. Yeah. Don't give me an order. So that doesn't work. And then on the flip side, so now we're, I like where we're at. We're kind of talking about how do we support each other in our self-care.
Yeah.
And so, this really relates to kind of what we've been talking about, like with your dad. You know, if you get injured, your dad isn't just like, Dylan, are you, I'm really worried about you. Your dad's like, hey, you okay? What do you need? What do you need? Calm, pragmatic. Let's just talk about what we need. With Will, he's just like, you know what? We're good. It's not this super smothering, overbearing concern. It's not this authoritarian, no, you need to go right now. It's calm, it's friendly, it's lighthearted, and like, I know Will, he'll hold it down. Even if things are really popping off, as long as he's got like one other staff with him, like, you can take your break, he will hold it down.
And at the core, it's still sending the message that I recognize. You know what I mean? Like, I reckon we're good. Yeah. You know,
hell yeah.
You don't need to stretch yourself farther. You know, go home, and I did. I went home, played video games. You know what I mean? Which is self care. You know,
in that case, it was. It's rest.
It was. It's I mean, sometimes that's what you need. Yeah, like Skyrim is a great game for that, because you just wander the world.
I
love open world.
I prefer Oblivion. Like, I've been playing Oblivion.
But that wasn't me. That was great.
On a note though, too, like supporting. That's another thing too. Is like making sure when we're like noticing somebody, and like it's something that I'm like personally working on, right? It's like when we notice like somebody is kind of hunkering down, like trying to pull people out, right? And like just inviting, and like me, I'm doing the adverse side. Like I know that like I hunker down, and like I tend to use like something that I've realized through some like meditating and like some self-realization lately is I 100% tend to use my sobriety as an excuse to stay inside. Right? Yeah. It's a lot easier to like not go out and like not go
to events.
Yeah, not go to events and just use my sobriety as like kind of like an excuse to not. And I'm not like, oh, I'm not going to go because I'm sober. But like a lot of people sometimes tend to know that I'm not going to enjoy that event because they know I'm sober, right? Or like it's not a huge drive if I say no. So it's really easy to like rely on my sobriety, and like I shouldn't do that because I am really comfortable with my sobriety. It's just like I'm uncomfortable in crowds I don't know. That's what it comes down to. It causes me anxiety, and I'm like, why do I want to be uncomfortable? I should be uncomfortable because it's an experience, and like it's more self-care than me just sitting in my house ruminating about things throughout the day and about what I want to do, how I see myself, and like, because there is like with addictions and like with being somebody in recovery, like there is like time, right, that I look back on and I'm like, well, if I wasn't here, I could have been here, when I know that's not fair at all, right? Because like I am where I am because of what I did, right? Which is fine, which is awesome, actually. Like I wouldn't have the life experiences, I wouldn't have the knowledge and like where I've come from if I didn't experience my addictions and all that stuff, right? That being said, there's a huge part of that, like when I'm just chilling and I'm in my thoughts and like I'm just in my house day after day and I'm like literally going from work home, and I have like one day where I'm cleaning my house and like doing my laundry and then it's back to work. That's when I'm like, oh man, well, that's when I just start thinking about the time I lost or the time I wasted, and there was no time wasted.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if that time hadn't happened, again, you wouldn't be the person that you are, and you wouldn't have like the insight and the wealth of experience that you have, which I think is going to serve you more and more as the years pass, because as we get older, we're going to be mentoring younger people and helping them how to live a good life, helping them learn how to live a good life.
So like now, what I've been trying to do is like, I still hold space for myself, and like I'm going to do my own thing with 9 times out of 10 my dog's with me. But like I'm still going to do my own things. But what I've been trying to do a lot now is like if I'm going to go do something or go try to enjoy something, I'm hitting people up and like I'm going to see if somebody wants to come hang out with me. Or, you know what I mean? You know, so like, and just trying to include people in experiences and also just actually be social, because that's self-care too, is like
for sure.
We are community, like we've talked about it I think a handful of times in a couple different episodes, but we've talked about how we are social creatures.
Humans are social creatures.
We thrive in community and social, and that's I think something we all three share. We've all three kind of talked about it in different aspects, in different episodes, in different times. But something I think we all three share is that we are very comfortable with being isolative. We're all three. I think we all have a comfort. Like that's kind of like our fallback, right? Like when we are a little stressed or a lot of stressed, when things don't feel right or that things feel complicated. I don't think I'd be overspeaking of it. I'd say we all three kind of have a tendency to feel this comfort of like, let me go into my space, my security.
Yeah, for sure.
And then once we're the problem is, and that's not necessarily wrong, right? Or a problem. Like you do need that space, but once we're in that space, it's really hard for us to come back out, right? We get in there and they're like, oh, this is comfy. Oh, I'm safe. I don't want to leave. I don't need to leave.
It's almost especially pernicious for me because between my East Coast friends and like a couple West Coast friends, I have like a lot of people I can hang out with on Discord. Yeah. Like these are people who I can't see in person or people who, I don't know, are gamers and don't really leave the house. So I can pretty much hit up somebody at any time and either like watch a show or play games on Discord. So the incentives to leave my apartment just get more fewer and fewer. Yeah. And so like it's a balance. Like on the one hand, I guess I'm getting some social contact, but I'm also just spending even less time out in the sunlight. And like I need to see the sun, and I need to feel the wind on my face. I need to go to coffee shops and write, man. I love doing that. Like Rimsky's in Northeast. Like I love sitting in that place and just writing poetry in my notebook, or like, you know, going to like a free comedy show, or just like all that stuff is really nourishing for me. And when I'm over reliant on sort of Discord games and like Discord show streaming as like my social content, like my source of social contact, it is very addictive. It's like, oh, I don't need to put on real pants, or like, you know, just last thing I want to say on this,
I don't need to put on pants.
Yeah, I don't even need to put up. Well, I do always wear pants. That's just the way I am.
we differ there. Greg.
Well, we might. But one thing is like, if I don't do my other forms of self-care, then I become my confidence in my ability to function socially becomes it diminishes. Like if I haven't like done my yoga and like eaten salad greens and taken my herbal energy supplement and gotten sunlight, if I haven't done all 4 of those things, I don't feel confident that I'm going to be fun and energetic in conversation with other people.
Which just plays into your anxiety.
100%.
Yeah.
And so then if I do have to go out and I haven't, maybe I took my herbal energy supplement and I did 10 minutes of yoga, but I haven't seen the sun in 4 days, and I haven't, and I haven't done any real exercise. Like, not only is my energy level less, my sort of social faculties are diminished. I also am, like you said, anxious about it. I'm like, oh man, I haven't seen the sunlight. My eye contact is not good. I bet everybody's noticing how not good my eye contact is. So it's like that, I don't know how rational that is. If I was more consistent in all those aspects of self-care, maybe I would be more fun to hang out with in person. But I just like the incentives to just stay inside on Discord playing video games there's just too many incentives.
And I think the thing that, at least I gather from us, and I'm sure from a lot of people, is like, we know what things are good self-care for us.
Yeah.
Whether we practice them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know deep down, I know the things that I need to change to break down, the things I invest too much time into. I know the things that would help, but whether it's with my body, my mind, everything, whether I choose to do them or not. Like, we tend to know the things that really would be good for us to really take that breath. And
that's the kicker, isn't it? Like, all day long, especially in our role, all day long and night long, we have this doctrine that we are, like, I don't want to say we're preaching, but we're speaking.
We mentor our patients for sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't want to say preach though, because we're not like preaching it.
No, but mentor for sure.
Yeah, and we have these things that we are teaching them, which is self-care, and we're out here all day long doing it. And especially like, you're going for social work, and like, I think anybody who has a bachelor's in psych, even at that level, you're understanding self-care, and you're literally going to school for how to do self-care.
Yeah.
We're the worst.
Yeah.
We're the absolute worst. And it's because, like, one, I think, like, the way I think about it, right? And, like, correct me if I'm wrong. The way I think about it is, like, when you're a cook, some cooks are amazing cooks at home. Don't get me wrong, but there's some people where it's all you're doing, so you're not cooking at home. You're eating at the restaurant, so you're still eating really well because you're eating your food that you're cooking at the restaurant, right? And you're eating what you have at home. But, like, when you get home after work, it's not like you're like, all right, let me take my shower after cooking all day. Now let me make a really nice, you're going to either like prep or something. But, obviously I might get hate for that because I know some cooks are, anyway.
I think that's a good analogy. Like, if you've been cooking 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, maybe on your weekends, you really just have no motivation to cook. And that might impact how healthy your food choices are.
Well, it's also just easier to go out to other restaurants.
Yeah.
Right. And then, like,
it's easier.
Yeah. Or like, there's certain professions where if you're doing that all day long, you don't want to go home and do it. Right. So, like, that's kind of how I see it in our role. And one of the hurdles that we have is that all day long we are talking about it, and we're coaching it, and we're helping people out with it. So when we get home, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna cook this meal real quick, some pasta, because it's easy. I'm gonna turn some Netflix or whatever other streaming service that's out there that you're using. I'm gonna chill on my couch for like a few hours,
just dissociate.
And I'm just gonna dissociate from everything. And then it's bedtime because I have to go do it again.
It's past bedtime.
And so you're gonna go to, and then it's just you're doing that again.
That's why even when I would work, I'd push 100-hour weeks some weeks, but I would average, 70, 80-hour weeks. But I wouldn't go home and go to bed. I'd go home and stay up till midnight, 1 a.m., and then get up at 5:30, 6, because I needed that time, and to do so many days in a row when I needed that time to decompress.
Yeah.
That was more valuable to me than a good night's sleep,
Wow.
I would
have
survive on 5 or 6 hours. I'd be fine. I would rather capitalize on that time to decompress.
Yeah.
And
I have that. I have that. Sometimes there are some weeks where, because I need that time to decompress, I'm getting 4-ish hours of sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just because, like, to actually decompress my day, cook my food, like really do my thing, like hang out with my dog and like take care of him and make sure he's getting his work, and like I'd rather take the time and enjoy that space, and then I know I'll sleep on my days off.
Yeah.
When those come around.
It goes to say a lot that the impact of that decompression time is more of a positive impact on you than sleep.
Or at least that's what we tell ourselves.
That's what I mean.
It's
that's what I believe is like, sure, like not sleeping at all or not, but having 5 hours of sleep as opposed to having 5 hours of sleep with 3 hours of zone out, decompress time, as opposed to 8 hours of sleep of going to sleep right when you get home from work.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be restful sleep for me, right? If I try to lay right down right away, I know it wouldn't be restful.
Toss
so like the way I do it is it helps me, and I need to get back into like, but that's like thing like self-care. Like I need to get back into the gym and working out, just cause like I got out of my routine and that self-talk, it's really easy to be like, well, since I missed this, then I'm gonna do this, and then now since I hiked, that still count, and one excuse makes for an excuse, and I think that's the other thing. You got to stop making excuses to not care for yourself, right? Because like it's like if you're gonna put the effort and time into somebody else, that needs to be tenfold to yourself, right? And that's what I'm struggling with, and what I'm working on personally is, instead of giving more to other people, like I don't want to change the fact that I want to give to other people. I'm never going to change who I am personally. I do need to change my ratios up. Like my ratios are really messed up.
My ratios off too.
Right? Yeah. Like instead of doing like a solid 60-40 or 70-30, I'm doing like a 30-70, right? And like everybody else is getting a piece, and then I'm left.
Yeah.
With nothing.
And after a really tough work week, or after a really tough work day, what I would feel is I would come home and the temptation would be so strong to just like do something that's going to just completely take my mind off everything. Watch a show, play some video games, watch like hours of a show, play hours of video games, just completely lose myself in that until I'm so exhausted from sleep deprivation that I can just sort of fall asleep. But again, like what I find is that that's not restful sleep. If I've just sort of bathed my brain in the sort of light of a screen, it's not restful sleep. I do sometimes think about like
blue light blockers.
There are blue light filters for screens are really good. Trick. But even so, the stimulation of like gaming, I'm playing Elden Ring, I'm like dodging sword swings. I'm like, it's like all this adrenaline that doesn't help my sleep. I sometimes think about like, what must it be like to be working with like Doctors Without Borders in like a war zone?
Oh my gosh.
You're pulling probably maybe as much as many hours working as you were when you were working the most, and it's like severed limbs and gunshot wounds and like all kinds of crazy stuff, and like some of like those people are heroes, and like we in our work sometimes we are heroic too, but I just think sometimes like I want to be able to be heroic to that degree. I want to take such good care of myself that I have all that energy to give while still keeping energy for myself.
They very well might not be doing that self-care though.
They might not be, but I've definitely met some nurses, some doctors who work out hard like every day, and they sleep good. I want to hit that level, but I can't force it. I can't just pretend that like, okay, from now on I'm just going to start every morning. I'm going to get up, like whether I have work or not, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and
habitual.
Always do that yoga.
It's just like the negative habits, right? It's like it's creating those habits. Self-care habits.
That's simple.
It's like starting small and creating those habits.
Yeah.
That's our part. I want
to do that.
I talk to my mom's partner a lot about kind of stuff you're talking about, because he's a podiatrist back east, and is very successful and is extremely healthy, runs marathons, is very successful in marathons, and like it's just, he is pretty badass, right? And I have talks with him a lot about like just self-care and different ways, and like, because back when I was running more often, I would talk to him about progression of running, and like his ideas of it is just, it's a little bit at a time and you just continue to grow. And that's like a lot of things throughout life too, is like a lot of life lessons. And if you've noticed, like when you're being coached through anything, you don't just jump all the way into it because it's overwhelming. You take little steps that grow. Self-care is the same thing. You can't, like, if you've never cared for yourself, if you've never given your time self, which there are so many people out there who unfortunately don't have the time to be able to give themselves care,
or the money to afford what they need to take care of themselves.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, unfortunately, we live in a society, we live somewhere where you have this idea that you need to buy things or you need to purchase things to have self-care.
I'm talking about like
really
food, like healthy food and stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing, but like talking about, taking 5 minutes to breathe, starting there.
Yeah.
And moving on from that, right? So taking 5 minutes in one day.
Yeah.
To shut everything off, put your phone to the side, just 5 minutes. Breathe, chill. After those 5 minutes, come back. You're doing your thing. And then next week, maybe take 10 minutes. And that's even the thing with food. Like there's co-ops you can always go to. Unfortunately, money in locations too, because you have food deserts.
Yeah.
But there's ways you can care for yourself that is not monetarily driven.
Yeah.
And you can start small and go out from there. And I think that's what's like really important is like, because it gets overwhelming when you're like, oh, I'm not doing this well, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. It's like, cool. All right, maybe today I didn't take care of myself that well. And that's a version of self-care is like addressing it, knowing, cool, okay, today I was really hard on myself. Today I didn't take care of myself. Tomorrow, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes of just love. That's it. I'm just going to be okay with where I'm at. I'm going to sit, I'm going to breathe, and that's it. I'm going to make sure I have that time for myself.
Tomorrow, I'm just going to drink a little bit more water.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm just going to eat a few leaves of a salad.
Yeah. And like, just like kind of progress, like, cool. Okay. If your goal is to go start walking to get out of the house. All right. Today, I'm going to walk to the end of the driveway. I'm outside.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Tomorrow, I'm going to walk to the end of the block. Sick. And you just one day at a time.
Or this week,
I just find it interesting that that's I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, even I just hit I don't even know how to verbalize it, but I just got a shock wave of something I wanted to do. And so I'm going to start today. Today I'm going to write, and I'm going to try until our next episode at least, I'm going to try and write a page every day.
Cool.
Boom.
Awesome.
So I'm going to try and do it because I know writing is the big thing for my self-care and my processing, and I don't know why I avoid it. But today I'm going to start doing that. So
there's something there.
I think that's
about it.
I want to do something. Today I'm going to do, even though I have a broken toe and I can't do much of the yoga and martial arts stuff that I like, today I'm going to do some stretching of my hips and my back because I need that. I feel it right now. So
there you go.
I'm going to do that.
What are you doing, Dylan?
What are you doing?
I'm going to go to bed. I'm asleep.
This man needs sleep. That is not a cop out. This man needs
Dylan
sleep
worked
right
all
now.
night, and then it's been like 12 hours since he got off work almost.
God,
He's got to go to bed. So I think that is a good ending message here for this episode is find your self-care.
Yeah, any way you can.
Yeah, find it. Most of us know. If not, try some things. Try some things that are some general self-care. Try some new things. There might be some things that just tickle that little positive feeling in you.
If you have any ideas and you want to share, because maybe some people don't know what self-care is, and if you want to go ahead and share what is your self-care routine, we would love to know. There's a wonderful place called Facebook, and if you type in Unzipped Mind, you will find us on Facebook, and you can just leave that little message just right there on our message, and just let us know what is your self-care, because we would love to read about it. We love contacting you guys. We love interacting and messaging, and we do respond to all messages. But yeah, let us know what you guys, what everyone's self-care routines are, and maybe it's going to be some advice for somebody, or maybe we might learn some new routines that might help. And while we're gone, it doesn't mean we're not going to be having anything. So we are going to be check in on our Instagram and our Facebook. We'll be updating things along the way. While we're also we're going to be kind of like shadow breaking here. We're still going to be active. We're still going to be here. We're just taking some time to get caught up and just take a breather.
Yep.
But we look so much forward to coming back September 25th. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
September 5th. We look so Season 2. But catch us around. We're going to be out in Nebraska September 8th.
The 9th.
September 9th. We're going to be, Nick and I are going to be out in Nebraska September 9th in, what town?
Hero Stock. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. It's Hero Stock, but what town?
Why am I Ashland?
Ashland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be in Ashland, and we're going to be at Hero Stock.
Yeah, we'll probably do a live while we're out there. Just kind of Dylan and I will be representing Unzipped Mind.
Come say hello to us. We would love to meet you in person and chat with you guys. And again, that's Unzipped Mind. Go ahead and head on over to our website if you want to buy some of our merch. It really helps us. And if anything, if all you can do is support us, and if just hit that like and subscribe button.
Yeah,
it really helps us. It helps our show. It helps us grow, and it's what's bringing us back for season 2.
Yeah,
cool. Love it. So grateful for you guys.
Yeah, so grateful for you guys.
I'm grateful for you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad we did this. 20 episodes.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
20 episodes and a lot more recordings. A lot of work.
A lot of work,
boys.
It's been a wonderful journey, and I am so grateful for every single part of it.
Absolutely.
And grateful to all you, the listeners.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on this journey. Thanks for joining us on this self-care journey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a lot to think about.
Like Nick said at the beginning of this episode too, we got some really cool big announcements and some big things coming up. So check in on our Instagram at that is at theunzippedmind.com or that the Unzipped Mind. That's it. That's just that. Yeah. And keep up to date with us because some big cool things that I'm not sharing yet for a reason are coming out. All right, we will talk with you guys
keep
later.
The suspense.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks,
guys.